People around the world are interested in their origins. We want to know, who were our ancestors? Where did they come from? Recent work has shown that many of us have Neanderthal ancestors in our family trees. Neanderthals were living throughout Europe and Asia when modern humans spread out of Africa. Modern humans and Neanderthals interbred, and the result is that present-day non-Africans inherit around 2 or 3% of their DNA from Neanderthal ancestors. A few years ago, another archaic population called the Denisovans was identified from sequencing DNA extracted from a bone found in a cave in Siberia. Comparison with the DNA sequence of modern humans showed that individuals in some parts of the world have some Denisovan ancestry. In particular, Papuans inherit around 4% of their DNA from Denisovan ancestors. In our study, we discovered that East Asians inherited DNA from 2 groups of Denisovan ancestors. One ancestral group was closely related to the sequenced Denisovan from Siberia, whereas the other ancestral group was distantly related. How did we obtain this result? We developed a new method for finding segments of DNA in present-day humans that are likely to have been inherited from an archaic human population. Such segments contain a set of genetic variants that are absent or rare in Africa. We then compare the genetic variants on these segments with the Neanderthal and Denisovan genomes. This plot shows the rate of matching to the Neanderthal and Denisovan genomes for the variants on the segments that we found in present-day British genomes. Each segment contributes 1 data point, and we present the results with a contour plot, which is like a topographical map. A peak on the plot indicates that there are many data points around that location. On the plot, we see the largest peak here, which corresponds to segments for which the set of picked out variants have around 80% matching to the Neanderthal genome. Now here is the plot for Papuans. On the right, we have a peak that is similar to that in the British plot, and which also represents Neanderthal ancestry. And on the left, we have a peak corresponding to Denisovan ancestry. However, notice that the rate of matching to the Denisovan genome at the peak is only about 50%, which shows that the Denisovan ancestors of Papuans were much more distantly related to the sequenced Denisovan. Finally, let's look at the plot for Han Chinese from Beijing. On the right, we see the Neanderthal peak, but on the left we have 2 Denisovan peaks. The lower peak is centered at the same place as the Denisovan peak in Papuans, with about 50% matching to the Denisovan genome, whereas the upper peak has over 80% matching to the Denisovan genome. That means that the upper peak represents ancestry from another group of Denisovans that was fairly closely related to the sequenced Denisovan individual. So now we know a bit more about the ancestral origins of current-day humans. If your ancestry is from East Asia, you have Neanderthal ancestors and 2 distinct sets of Denisovan ancestors.